As we start the summer of 2034 and get ready for season number 7 at Fulham Football Club, can't help but paraphrase the Clash. Should we stay or should we go? We have done great things here at Fulham after we got relegated, of course, and came right back up to the Premier League. We became a Champions League side, but had a bit of a drop-off in the last season, so we're going to be spending this year in the Europa League, which is a little bit of a letdown, to be perfectly frank with you. There are jobs available at Bayer Leverkusen and Arsenal that are looking kind of juicy to us. Arsenal being a Champions League side. Bayer Leverkusen, not, but maybe we could get them there. Have we taken Fulham as far as we can go, or is there more? And then, of course, we're immediately greeted by the news that a site has been found and the new Fulham Stadium to replace Craven Cottage is getting set to be built. Construction begins today and will conclude near the end of June in 2036. So do we stick around and see our new stadium, or do we just come back as a visiting coach? Who knows? At the same time, our training facilities have been downgraded due to technological advances, so we have put in a request with the board to see if they are going to improve them back up so we can have state-of-the-art everything. For the roof, undersoil heating, 42,125 maximum capacity. It's about 13 grand more than we can fit in Craven Cottage right now. 2034 is also a World Cup year, which kind of gives me an idea that we're actually doing things pretty okay here at Fulham, and maybe this past year was just a blip. We have had 19 players called up to represent their respective countries in the World Cup, including Jordan Mohammed, Gabriel Gyamfi, who really didn't get a lot of playing time this year. We had just brought him in as a youngster. I think he's 21. Armand Diaby, Racine Sissoko, Tony Soiree, who has been out on loan but is most definitely coming back. Toshimitsu Endo playing very well for Japan. We talked about that in the last couple of episodes. Kim Young-suk, Kim Seon-il, who is really ready to be our starting goalkeeper if we decide to move on from Nikola Shvlina at any point. David Heinz, who showed flashes of brilliance this year. Alfonso Omer, Victor Christensen, Tom Burford, Luke Couchman, Khaled Ghanayem, Stefan Georgiou for Romania, who has been with our U21s, if I'm not mistaken, Federico Guerrero, Christian Sosa, Eduardo D'Amico, and Pedro Iglesias. Basically, our entire starting 11 is going to be representing their home nations in this year's World Cup. Although, ironically, the only name I didn't actually mention there was Nikola Shvlina. So, admittedly, I'm not sure what kind of moves we're going to make. I think it's going to be mainly reserve players and bringing in youngsters that can eventually come up, those proverbial wonder kids. I think this is what we're going to be doing for next year. Nikola Shvlina in goal, Christensen, Sosa, Ghanayem, Couchman, back four. Gomer at the base of the midfield with Larson. Larson proved himself to be that Carolero moving forward. Thinking of moving Nikolai Rumyantsev into the central midfield position. Now, our assistant manager all year long kept trying to get us to do that and have Tom Burford be up front. We're thinking about moving Burford onto the left wing, either as a winger, potentially as a Ram de Tour, because that seems to be like his top position, top role, like best thing he's best at, even though I still don't understand what it does. So we may try that out in the preseason and then move him to maybe either an inside forward or an inverted winger. We'll see what we do. Federico Guerrero being on the right side and Tony Soiree up top. In his loan spell this past year, he has proven that he has the goods. Now, Nikolai Rumyantsev does as well, but Soiree is only a striker. Rumyantsev is a little bit more versatile. And you can see a bit of what I mean in a year in Spain with Real Betis. 28 appearances, 9 goals, 2 assists in La Liga. He added another one in the Cup. Played 12, make that 13 matches for his country. 12 of them starts. Scored 12 goals. So 22 total goals for both France and for Real Betis last year. I think he may actually be a keeper, and I have kind of changed my thinking on what we're going to do with him long term. And since we are entering the last year of our contract, and this is a journeyman save, After all, we've been here at Fulham for a very long time. We've applied for the job at Bayer Leverkusen, and we've applied for the job at Arsenal. That doesn't mean we're going anywhere, but we're going to keep our options open, just like any of the players would, and frankly, like we would do if this was our situation in real life. Ironically, Patrick Vieira is the leading candidate for both jobs. Just to give a sense of the way things that are definitely going to be changing over the next year, we are finally going to be saying goodbye to Harvey Vale. His contract is up in about 3 weeks. He has been a very solid player for us. He's super versatile, but he is now 30 years old. I'm not trying to be ageist, even though we're going to mention age quite a bit. His skills are slightly on the decline. He did manage 7 goals and 3 assists. I think we can definitely do better building somebody up for the future. There are other players that could easily step into this role. Other players that are going to be leaving on free is Jonah Foote, Matteo Di Rocco, Stefan Giorgio, and Rohan Ball, who we really haven't talked about, an 18-year-old who just really doesn't have a ton of upside. Now, there are a ton of players whose contracts end at the end of next season, but only a few of them notable names. Nicholas Shivlina, Josh King. Now, he is going to be leaving on a permanent transfer to Luton. It was part of his loan deal for this last year. 5.75 million euros will be added to our budget come July the 1st when he moves on. Pedro Iglesias, the 21-year-old Uruguayan center back, hasn't really developed exactly the way we would have liked. We may be moving him along or giving him more playing time this year to see if he does have that ability. His physicals are very good. It's the reason why we brought him in. Great mental attributes as well. However, he just really has not gone above, say, a League One championship level player so far in the last couple of years he has been with the club. El Shaddai Bichiabu has been out on loan to Everton for the last year. He's probably never going to actually come back. I mean, he'll come back from the end of his loan, but we are probably going to try to ship him back out again, either on loan or on a permanent transfer. We just, frankly, have a glut of center backs. We have very good center backs to start. Racine Sissoko is definitely that third choice center back. Have we decided on who the fourth choice is going to be? I don't know, but we're probably going to go a little bit younger in that position, somebody that can grow into it. Maybe that will be the spot Iglesias takes, but I think Bichiabu is finished here at Fulham. And the only other major name on that list is one we've already talked about a couple of times, Tony Soirée, the 21-year-old Senegalese national. Why did I think he was French? I don't know. Anyway, the Senegalese international, he's already capped 39 times for Senegal, scored 25 goals. His contract is going to be up in 13 months. We have tendered him a new 4-year deal. He's going to see a massive pay rise to $100,000 a week, but a player of this caliber, he has developed into the player we have needed him to be. Took a little bit of a step back, just to grow. We paid $3.5 million for him. He's currently valued at $93 million, and that's probably only going to go up now that he is going to have 4 more years left on his contract. Now, it's been a while since we have done one of these, but Bayer Leverkusen has offered us a chance to interview for the job. Do we make the jump over to Germany? Well, that's to be determined. They want to discuss our plans for the club's vision should they decide to hire us. They love our commitment to signing players under the age of 23. Now, they did express a concern about our desire to not make set pieces part of our game. I mean, we absolutely do make set pieces a part of our game. I think we have some very good set piece routines, and we do a very good job with them, at least on the offensive side. So, little interesting. Let's get started with the interview, however. Some reservations regarding the fact I've never managed in this country. Oh, wow. My standing in the game should be more important than your decision whether I've managed in the country or not, or This is the best chance I've had to work in the country is the response we're going to give. I have a relegation on our managerial record. Can I explain those circumstances? Learn from that experience. It'll never happen again. You've been in my current post for a long time. I've decided to move now. I've been waiting for the right opportunity to move on. That's why I'm here now. You're up for a few jobs. I've applied for two jobs. If the jobs are vacant, I think it's fair to explore those up. That's the response I'm going to give. A little bit of a negative response, I think. More negative than I normally would give, but I don't need the Bayer Leverkusen job. I have a good job. I've previously been embroiled in media controversy citing the inability to command the support of my players. Are you joking? I was very much the exception rather than the rule. I think they're talking about our time in Turkey, which was like 9 years ago. Am I willing to assure you that I do a better job meeting expectations than your potential predecessor? I will always back myself to succeed. Would I be comfortable working with the director of football, Kim Falkenberg? Sure. Seems like an okay guy, fairly professional. Be more than happy to work with him. We understand the importance of having the right backroom team in place when the manager moves to a new club, so they're willing to allow us to request any changes. Now, we did just re-sign a ton of squad members, or staff members, I should say, at Fulham. I don't know how many would be looking to move on. I've like a fair amount of changes to be able to be made. The long-term vision is to play entertaining football. I think we do that. Sign players under the age of 23 for the first team. We definitely do that. Play possession football. We have been doing that. Make the most of set pieces. We certainly try. And play high-tempo pressing football. I think we do that. I don't know how you would classify our game right now. Work within the wage budget, increase the commercial revenue. That's kind of like outside of my hands, but whatever. Maybe it's signing players that will bring in additional dollars, which we have done recently at Fulham. They want us to qualify for the Champions League while work towards challenging for the Bundesliga title before challenging for the Bundesliga title by the end of the 2038-2039 season. I'm happy with that. No expectations for us to fulfill in the current season. Understood, because the current season is frankly over. Any other requests? No thanks. I am good. Let's leave the meeting. And yeah, let's see what happens. And what has happened? Sorry, Patrick Vieira. We are the new frontrunners for the job at Bayer Leverkusen. Which probably means that now we're not going to get it. I don't think we've ever gotten a job that we've been the front runner for, either in FM24 or FM23, but we'll see what happens. Now, if we do get the job, this will make this a shorter episode than we thought it might be, because we're going to need a little bit of time to figure out, get our feet on the ground in Germany, should we decide to make the jump. And I think saying all of that, the reason it's going to be a short episode is I kind of want your opinion. So leave a comment below if we get offered the job, whether we should go to Bayer Leverkusen or Arsenal if we are given that interview opportunity, or we should stay at Fulham Football Club and try to, quote unquote, complete the job. And it looks like this may be a real possibility of something we are going to need to consider in the next 24 hours. Bayer Leverkusen have requested backroom staff changes. Now, usually this is a precursor to the offering of a job. We're going to go through our staff. We're going to go through their staff with a fine-tooth comb. We're going to make the suggestions. Then we're going to hang on and see what happens from here. But I think Bayer Leverkusen could potentially be our next destination, unless we spend another year at Fulham. Well, not surprisingly, because they signed new contracts or they're English nationals, most of the staff of Fulham does not want to move to Bayer Leverkusen. Some think that it's because it's a lateral move for them. Others are just like, I'm happy staying in England. I don't want to go. Some would be delighted to go, and we're just choosing not to. We've identified 7 members of the Fulham staff that we're going to be bringing over, including a couple of goalkeeping coaches who are very good, and I love their personalities. We got a budget of nearly 22.5 million euros to use for compensation. We're going to be spending about 7 3/4 of that as we make our suggestions to Bayer Leverkusen. Again, 6th in the Bundesliga last year. Can we bring them to the top? Do we stay with Fulham and bring them back to the top? or as close to the top as we've gotten before. We have overseen the most successful period in Fulham Football Club history. We had a little bit of a setback. Do we use that as a launching pad to go somewhere else, or do we use that as motivation to have an even better year this year? That we are going to leave up to you. Put down in the comments whether we should go to Bayer Leverkusen or whether we should stay at Fulham Football Club. That doesn't mean that we are not still trying to make moves as the manager of Fulham Football Club, because right now, that is our job. We have put in an offer for 70 million euros. Actually, we put in an offer for 50 and they negotiated it up. For Tobias Bubl, a German international, 14 caps for Germany, 25-year-old left back. Victor Christensen, as we've talked about, now 31 years old, still a very good player. We need a backup there because Harvey Vale is leaving. Bobel could potentially be the left back of the future. We may have to promise him more playing time than we can probably give him with Christensen's stature as a current regular starter. Maybe we can rotate the two in for a while before we figure out what we're going to do on the long term, but a very good player. Tremendous physicals. He's got a ton of speed. Pretty good at crossing the ball. Great anticipation. His technique, work rate, all wonderful things that we love to see, and hope that he can be a wonderful addition to this Fulham team, whether we are here or not. And well, the here or not question has come up faster than we expected. Bayer Leverkusen have approached Nick Bottom to take over as their new top man, offering 29,500 euros per week. That is a bit of a pay cut, I believe. I think we're at 35 right now. We'll check that in just a second. A wage budget of 2.8 million, which is a drop down, and a transfer budget of only 33 million. Could be interesting. Now, this is something that we could build up. It looks like it could be a situation very much like we had with Fulham before. I stand corrected. We are making 42,500 euros as the manager of Fulham Football Club. So if we do decide to potentially move forward, we may need to try to negotiate that up a little bit. And it looks like Bayer Leverkusen had a very similar season to the one that we had at Fulham, finishing 6th place in the 18-team Bundesliga. They're going to be competing in the Europa League, 58 points over 34 matches, so just about on par. 16 wins, though, which is a little bit more than we had. But at the top of the table sits Bayern Munich, a place that Bayern Munich has occupied for at least 20 seasons now. Can we be the ones to topple the German giants? We did it last year on our Journeyman save. Can we do it again? And the other big question is, what would we need to do to this team to make them successful? Looking at their starting roster, it's a little on the older side. The goalkeeper is 22 years old. The starting striker, 24. And one of the defensive midfielders in their current setup is 22. Everybody else, 31, 31, 32, 30, 32, 29, 33, 30. The bench and all of the auxiliary players are on the younger side. Are any of them good enough to make the step up and replace the players that are already there? Is there enough value in the team to potentially move on and start to recycle in some newer bodies? It would be a tremendous challenge. Is it one that we are looking for? And that is something I'm going to leave up to you in the comment section below and on the Discord. We'll even talk about it on stream tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. Please, I'd love to hear your input. Do we go to Bayer Leverkusen or do we stay at Fulham? Do we delay this and hope maybe the Arsenal job comes through? Although I have a feeling they're going to go with Patrick Vieira because they haven't even come to us with an interview. Let me know. Make sure you hit the like button on this video. Subscribe if you have not already. Thank you very much for supporting the channel if you've already done so in the past or if you're doing it now. Hell, you're supporting the channel just by watching this. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Are we going to be in Germany or are we staying in London? We'll find out. Until then, bye-bye.